Welcome to Chattin' with Chuck. You've read his column on the street for nearly 50 years. He's informed you on new businesses coming to the area, breaking news announcements, and lots of other great information. And now he's going to do the same right here on the radio. It's Chattin' with Chuck on 105.9 The Wave, being brought to you by Cincinnati Jewelry, Wabash Barbecue, the Woody's Automotive Group, Investors Community Bank, Constitution Tribune, Hutchison and Company with Allied Insurance, and the Bogie Stone Cafe. And now, here's the host of Chattin' with Chuck, Chuck Haney.
Well, good morning once again, everyone, and welcome here to Chatting with Chuck, right here on 105.9 The Wave. And we're here each and every Thursday morning at 8 with a special guest here, or sometimes more than one. And we hope you'll join us as we talk about Chillicothe and the area, what's going on, what's happening, and what's coming up. We'll be back with our guest today. Stay with us here on 105.9 The Wave. Back in a moment after these words from our fine sponsors.
Men, do you have a backup plan in case Plan A doesn't go as planned? This is Eric Sensnick from Sensnick Jewelers, your official Plan B consultant. Plan A? Of course it's something practical that she can use. Now, we're not saying that it's going to be a bomb, but just in case, come see us for Plan B. It's a gift from Sensnick Jewelers, and it's sure to be the plan of attack. Simply put, don't worry, we've got your Plan B covered. See us at Sensnick Jewelers for a Plan B that's brilliant. Your Master IGO jeweler with the brilliance you deserve, north side of the Chillicothe Square.
People wonder why so many customers are buying used certified Chevy, Ford, and many other makes from Woody's Automotive Group. The answer? Our customers are smart. Woody's offers a certified 5-year, 60,000-mile max care new car warranty for free. Save thousands, buy a used vehicle, and get more warranty than buying a new one. For customers that don't know what brand to purchase, Woody's has something for everyone. Come to Woody's knowing nearly every make and model is certified. Buy smart at Woody's Automotive Group in Chillicothe.
You'll say, wow! WowWoodies.com.
Wabash Barbecue, located at the historic Wabash Depot in Chillicothe, is the place to go for authentic smoked barbecue. Manager Esther Houston welcomes you to come on by. Try the award-winning barbecue, whether you're interested in dinner or maybe one of their great luncheon specials. And Wabash even offers full-service catering. Just call 646-6777. Wabash Barbecue, located at 1 Elm in Chillicothe, open Tuesday through Friday from 11 to 9 and on Sunday from 11 to 3. Wabash Barbecue, always smoking something good.
Nationwide is on your side. Got an early morning dead side. Looks like those braids aren't easy to tie. How do I retire at 50 side? That's why there's Nationwide for all your many sides. Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company and Affiliates, Columbus, Ohio.
For more information about Allied Insurance, call Hutchison and Company in Chillicothe. Call 646-3317.
Hey man, have you heard? Bogie Stone Cafe offers a wide assortment of steaming hot cappuccino, fabulous frozen frappuccino, and real fruit smoothies. In addition to a staggering assortment of drinks, they have great food. Enjoy pasta dishes, grilled sandwiches, unique salads, wraps, homemade cheesecakes, decadent tiramisu, whatever that is, and much more. All prepared on site with much love and family pride. Bogie Stone Cafe, 612 Washington Street, on the square. Get Bogie stoned today!
Since the 1920s, the Constitution Tribune has been providing local news for the people of Chillicothe and surrounding area. It's always been about keeping the people of North Missouri connected. Well, times have changed, but the commitment of keeping the people of North Missouri connected is still the goal of the CT. That's why you can now sign up to get the same great information at a fraction of the price with the Tribune's e-paper. Call 646-2411 today and get a digital copy of the Tribune sent to your inbox for only $7.99 a month.
If you're a homeowner, it's going to happen. Eventually the furnace goes out, or maybe it's the water heater, or the contractor says you need a whole new foundation. All of those little surprises can cost you a lot of money, and all you can think of is how can we pay for it? This is Noel Gott from Investors Community Bank. See us for a home improvement loan with monthly payments that you can afford. Investors Community Bank in Chillicothe, your bank of choice, equal housing lender, member FDIC.
We want to welcome a new guest to Chillicothe, a new guest to the show, and for the first time, and Dr. John Carter, right? Have I got...
Dr. Jon Davis.
Davis, not Carter, Davis, excuse me, I'm sorry, who I met about 3 months ago through the courtesy of former presiding commissioner Eva Danner at FCA banquet, and I don't remember or recall that we've seen each other since, maybe in passing, but when it was suggested that you come on the show, I thought, hey, that's a great idea, and let's go for it. So welcome to the show.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
First of all, your experience, you've been here, I think you said before we came live, about 3.5 months now.
That's correct.
You replaced Alan Brock, who was kind of a institution there at the Calvary Baptist Church for many, many years. And, of course, I know that you still see him through your association as a church member with the Livingston Lynn. What is the full name of that?
The Livingston Baptist Association.
Association.
Yeah.
So he stays very busy.
Yes,
and
he
I
does.
had him on the program many, many times. So after 3.5 months of pastoring at the Calvary Baptist Church, your thoughts about Chillicothe and the Calvary Baptist Church. We'll take Chillicothe first.
Well, sure. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for having me. And my wife and I, we have 3 kids. Isaiah is 8, Faith is 5, and Leah is 3. And so we're just getting involved in the school system and getting involved here in the community. And we have just been blown away. When we shared with the folks down the church that I came from down in the Belton Raymore area that we were coming to Chillicothe, the first thing that out of every single person's mouth was, "Oh, Chillicothe, that is such a wonderful city, just a great place." And here's what they said: a great place to raise kids. And so far, we've just we've just been just overwhelmed with the kindness of people. Just a wonderful community. And Calvary Baptist Church has just welcomed us with open arms, and just been just great to jump into ministry. Dr. Alan Brock has just been like Chuck, you said, just an institution. And just like when we were shared with people that we were coming to Chillicothe, they said, "What a wonderful city." When I'm here in the city and I mention Alan's name, they say, "What a wonderful pastor." Yeah. And he is still a wonderful pastor, and he's just transitioned from pastoring a church to pastoring pastors. And he's already been a pastor to me just in the little bit of time I've been here. So grateful to be here, and looking forward to ministry.
I can imagine that you, me, or anybody else, Pastor Brock, would just kind of take you under his wing and roll with it.
Yes, sir.
Yes, he was highly involved in the community beyond the church and the Ministerial Alliance, but very much, involved in the Ministerial Alliance. And so that's all a good thing, and it's sure nice. I mean, you're talking about down Highway 71 a little bit when you're talking about where you came from in that area, and that they knew that much about Chillicothe. So that's good to hear.
Yes, sir. Yes. It's amazing how many connections there are just across this area and down into the Kansas City area. I still run into people that know people down there, and I know people down there that know people up here. So it's just great.
Well, you mentioned one before we came live, and after you told me the whole story, it struck me because we had a special committee of about, 6 to 8 people back in the early 90s, might have been 89 or 90, that gathered. And I think they had been over to Marceline before they came here, and that's where we got their name. But a group out of Harrisonville that went in and helped cities to do to really do a survey to say, hey, to people, to business, to individuals, families, what's good about Chillicothe, what's bad, what don't you like, what can they do better, things like that.
Sure.
And the gentleman's name was what again?
Mr. Howard McHenry.
Yes. And I know that people like Terry Rumry, our economic developer, who was involved in that, and Ed Turner, who's another big Chillicothe cheerleader, so to speak, Ed Douglas, people like that, they were all at that meeting. And you're right. You said that he told you, well, go look at that golf course. That's because of us. And he's exactly right. Yeah. That, the YMCA, and there's, the list goes on, and it's continued to grow, and that we've expanded on since that happened in early 1990, 91, along in that period of time. So, it's a small world, isn't it?
It sure is. And I met Mr. Howard McHenry. He was part of the church I was serving in down there in the Belton area. And he is, I believe he's 86 or 87 years old this year.
Is that right?
And still just a vibrant personality and just very active. we shared a common interest. We both played trombone, and he played trombone professionally with a group called the Rockets, and they played together for over 40 years and just traveled the country, went overseas, and two-time mayor of Harrisonville, just an extraordinary man. And he told me just stories about how when he retired, he wanted to spend his life helping people. And so what he did with a couple other folks is they traveled from small town to small town, and they tried to share with them how they could grow and some things that they could do in their city to make it better. And so when he shared with me that Chillicothe was one of the, and I don't know if you can classify Chillicothe as a small town, but this city that he had been to back in the 90s, he said, you know what, they've done incredible work up there. And then I got here and I got to see it firsthand.
Well, Ed, I certainly want to pass that along to Ed and Terry and Ed Turner, Ed Douglas, and people like that. That again, it's such a small world, but they did have a lot to do with that. And I know that because of Marceline, and every time I travel 36 going east or coming back into Chillicothe from Columbia or Moberly or wherever, I see the big American flag out by the junction of US 36. That was one of their ideas with the sign Marceline. So I think of them often about that. But yes, they were very vital in their information and what they brought to us and what we needed to change and do. That's made our community a much better one. I can tell you that. And you can carry that message back to him.
I will.
I didn't realize, first of all, that he was in a trombone group. And secondly, he's 86 and still going strong. And that's fantastic.
Yes, sir. Yeah, no, it's great.
So,
him and his wife, Joyce, just wonderful people.
So the family, 3 children, your wife and you, now settled in, so to speak, 3.5 months, and have met probably all of the parishioners that have been to church. Some maybe more often than others. That does happen. Last weekend was kind of a tough one. I'm a member of the St. Columban's Catholic Church, and I didn't go because of fear of the weather. My daughter and son said, no, you stay put.
Yes.
So I did.
Yes.
And they said there's only about 50 people there at the 10 o'clock Mass. Normally it's full. So probably the same story maybe with some other churches. And I know some rural churches even didn't have services. Right. But one of those things, thank goodness and thank the good Lord, it wasn't what they had down on I-44.
Correct.
So sometimes, I think, hey, having a weather job was in 6 figures and being wrong 40% of the time.
That's a pretty good job, isn't it? That's a pretty good gig right there.
Well, tell me a little bit. I'm sure you've met Darrell Wright, the fire chief and Department of Emergency Services.
Yes, sir.
They and the Calvary Baptist Church, they use each other,
yes, sir.
so to speak, and
yes, sir.
They use your facility for events and meetings and programs that they have, and always have been, the church has always been great to share that. So I'm sure you've met him. But tell us a little bit about, have you changed anything? What may be new at the Calvary Baptist Church at this point, or what are you looking at changing, if anything?
Yeah, one of the things that you think about when you come to a church and when you're called to a church to be their pastor is, change is natural and it happens over time. But really, the message that I wanted to share with them is that I felt like God was calling me to come there to love them exactly where they are. And, as we look at the future, there's 3 ideas that are really on my heart. And when you look in Scripture, you see Jesus affirming these ideas. And in Deuteronomy chapter 6 in the Old Testament, there's a passage of Scripture there that talks about you need to know that who God is, that He's one. And then it says that you need to love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your mind, and with all of your strength. And then later on in the Old Testament, it's going to say this, you need to love your neighbor as yourself. And so if I was just going to boil it down to saying, what would I love to see happen at Calvary Baptist Church? It's this, that we love God with everything that we are, that we learn and think through how to love each other, and then also this, to share the love of God with our community. And so here, even this week, this Sunday afternoon, we're going to be gathering some ministry leaders and to do some ministry planning. And really the big idea that we're thinking, just trying to lead our people to think and put their minds around is this: how can we love God? How can we put plans in place to where we can love each other? And what plans can we make that we can love our community? And so one of the questions that I'm asking them to ask themselves before they come to the meeting is this: take a look at Chillicothe. Take a look at the neighborhoods of Chillicothe. Take a look and just think about your acquaintances and your friends and the people you know in Chillicothe, and ask this question: how can Calvary Baptist Church be a blessing to our community? And so those are some big questions we're going to be answering even this week as we come together to plan.
Now, this group that you're talking about that's going to be there for this planning session, are these from the Calvary Baptist Church, or are you talking about other religious leaders or pastors? Or,
well, this is really just Calvary Baptist Church. And so these are your men's ministry leaders, your ladies' ministry, your missions, your just the different people who are involved there in leadership at the church.
Well, you've got to start somewhere, and you didn't come here to change a lot of things. No. You came here to make them better. I guess I would look at it that way, right?
That's exactly right. Pastor Alan Brock has just done such an exceptional job of leadership there at Calvary. And, the last thing you'd want to do is try to change a number of things all at once. That's just not good leadership, and that's not good ways of thinking. I think a better way to say it is this: to say, how can we take what's already there, and how can we look into Scripture, and take these big ideas of loving God, loving one another, and sharing that love with our community. And you know what? The strength of a church doesn't happen so much in changing, or it doesn't happen so much in organizational change. The strength of a church is all about relationships. So your relationships with God, and the strength of a church is going to come where the people in the church are loving each other as an outflow of their relationship with God. They love God with everything they are, and one of the things that God calls them to do is love one another. And so it's the strength of those relationships that bring a church together. And then when that church, as they're together, can begin to reach out to the community and say, how can we be a blessing to the people in our community? And those are really the thoughts that I want us to think through right now. And then here's the beauty of it. We don't have to have all the answers. But if you can get people in the same room with all of their varied experiences and all of their varied ways of thinking and the different ways that they've been trained and the different things that they've done throughout their life, get them in the same room thinking about how can we be a blessing to our community. It's just wonderful, the ideas that can come from that.
And I would bet money that Pastor Reeder is going to be a part of that group.
Oh, Larry Reeder is just a wonderful man. He's our associate pastor.
He's also back in my era in school here.
And he's got some great ideas. And then also Scott Mumper is our student pastor, and he brings just so much to the table as well.
I met Scott here a while back. He came to city council meeting to give our prayer.
Very good.
When I became mayor, when was it, 2007, one of the things that I wanted to do was to have our pledge to the flag and the prayer. There's some questions about whether we could legally do that at the time. No, we couldn't, which really seemed funny to me. But I didn't get sued. I didn't get put in jail, and eventually the law got changed. But we have a very good association with the Ministerial Alliance. Right now, Pastor John Rice of the United Methodist Church took over for Alan Brock, Pastor Brock, and he sets up the people to come. Usually, eventually, when it comes your turn, you're going to come twice to the council meetings. We meet the second and last Monday, and sometimes there's 5 Mondays. So my secretary kind of keeps myself and Pastor Rice in order, just like we did with Alan Brock and others. But we really appreciate, and what you're doing is kind of another part of just what I'm talking about, is to gather in a public session where we are there representing the people, and we open with the pledge to the flag, and it's done by 3rd Ward Councilman Tom Douglas, who is a veteran, so that makes that good. And then, of course, the Ministerial Alliance comes in and does the prayer. So it's something that that's special and that we always look forward to. And once the prayer's over, if they stay, sometimes they want to stay and see what's going on.
Yes.
And sometimes they have other things to do. But I'm sure that in the near future, we're going to see you up there,
well,
God willing.
It'd be an honor to do that.
So, well, besides the meeting with your people and the leaders of your church that you're going to bring in and bring together, and hopefully many ideas will float from that meeting, and that you can see that they materialize over the next coming months.
Yeah, yeah.
So anything else?
Well,
what have we missed?
Well, just in terms of, I guess, ministry to the community or thinking through, let me ask you a question. Is there anything personally that you'd like to ask me about myself personally, or?
Well, you gave a little bit of a brief history, and certainly, we went through a stage here in Chillicothe, and Pastor Rice, of course, is going to retire in the spring.
Yeah.
And I was saying, we've lost about 6 or 7 pastors or priests or whatever, and some have retired, some have left, and so I said, I hope that cycle is through. I guess in just the religious business, just like any other business, you go through cycles, and sometimes that happens. But he said also that the pastors are not hanging around a long time like they used to. I grew up, I'm a convert, but I grew up in the Christian church, and my goodness sakes, the pastors there, they hardly ever changed them.
Yeah.
Unless they retired, left, or got elevated or whatever. But no, I think that the Ministerial Alliance, they have their Thanksgiving service, they have their Christmas service. I hope that sometime while I'm still mayor that we can, and I talked to Pastor Brock, and one thing I would like to see happen is that the city and the Ministerial Alliance, the pastors come together, and that we have a national prayer breakfast or lunch or whatever. And have a keynote speaker come in. And I just have had that in the back of my mind. I even talked to Pastor Brock, Pastor Rice, and some of the others, Father Nib, about this, and they're all in favor. But, we have yet to sit down as a group and plan that. So that's something that I would like to see happen here in Chillicothe, and I think it would be neat.
I think it'd be wonderful. I've been a part of a couple of different organizations. Well, I've been a part of 2 ministerial alliances before. Each one did it our own way. But just 2 years ago, we were able to put on a National Day of Prayer event, which I think was wonderful, where we had a congresswoman come in and be our keynote speaker, and that was just a great time. We were able to pray and bring all the pastors together to be a part of that day of prayer. I love that. I love it when the city organization or the city leaders, the influencers in the city, can partner with the religious leaders within the city. So the picture here is this: we don't have to all agree on everything, right?
That's right.
Right. We don't. Right. We don't all. We don't have to lay down our various values. But what we can do is this: we can say we're in this together as a city, and the reality is we have hundreds of people in these churches throughout the city, and then we have these influencers that are a part of the leadership of the city. And I think it's just a great thing. I think it's a great thing when a city can come together around common ideas.
And one other thing, and I'm watching the time here. We usually try to do 20 to 25 minutes, but one thing I was going to ask you earlier, and we got on other topics that are just as important, is that it just seems like in the last maybe 10 years that really all churches of all denominations have really stressed youth programs and addressing the youth.
Yes.
With whatever type programs and events and and their participation in the church.
Yeah, and I've been talking with Pastor Scott Mumper, who is our student pastor, and just talking through that and to say, Scott, how do we think through how we're reaching kids? How are we thinking through intentional ways of meeting them right where they are? And so, one of the things that he's really thought up and he's going to be starting is we have this blessing of a gym, that's a part of Calvary. And so what he's going to start doing is open gyms, gym afternoons, and after the school day gets done, the kids can come there. And once again, this isn't a sense where we're trying to push kids to think or believe exactly the way we believe, but it's more of a sense we want to love them right where they are and give them a healthy and a place that's safe, that they could come, they could be accepted, and they can have a good time. And so, anything that we can do to be a positive benefit to our students, to our kids, I think that's what we need to do. Yeah.
Well, and tying in with that, your neighbor across the street, the North Central Missouri Youth Center, is a great addition, and Dan Savage does such a great job. And
he does.
They've got former teachers and retired teachers in there helping. It just adds to the backpack buddies and the after-school programs at the Y and what. And you were talking about everybody working together and making everything better. The church, the community, and that's a part of it.
Well, I would say, it's like I tell my son, everything's better when you do it together, right?
That I like that.
Yes.
I like that very good. I always close my column that I write, now for the new publication called The Post, instead of the Constitution Tribune. I kind of switched jobs, but I always close my column with, I've already told you more than I know.
Well, there you go.
And by the way, I got that from a United Methodist Church pastor. He said his son was in the service, and he'd always write back home. Yeah. And he'll always conclude that and say, Dad, I've already told you more than I know.
Yeah.
I said, can I steal that? And he said, yes.
Yeah. And, just one more example of working together with organizations. I'll give you an example. One of the things I do is I'm a chaplain with the Army National Guard, and so
that's great.
I'm attached to the rear detachment of the infantry unit down in Kansas City, headquartered down in Kansas City. But here recently, VA, and I wanted to get this word out just in case there's somebody that's a veteran that is thinking through, how to get benefits and things like this. We're going to be having a mobile unit. They're going to drive it up and park it in the parking lot of Calvary Baptist. It's going to be the third Saturday of every month. They're going to park it there. And if you are a veteran and you want more, if you just have questions about benefits, if you have questions about, where, how to get benefits, or maybe, just anything regarding veteran status, these are the folks you want to come talk to. And so they're going to be there the third Saturday of every month.
Well, and since you said that, when we conclude here, when Ian comes back, I'm going to suggest that you cut some PSAs with him.
Sure.
Kind of promote that. So that's great, and I'm glad you got that plugged in. Well, we hope to have you back at other times. I'm sorry that 3.5 months have passed before we bring you on the program, but it just seems like we could probably have 3 or 4 of these programs with not just the church activities and the youth groups and but just what goes on in this amazing community. And it's a very busy community, but that's good.
Yes, it is. Yes.
So thank you again, Pastor, and the very best of luck to you as you continue to your work with the Calvary Baptist Church and with your youth pastor, with Pastor Reeder. And certainly we hope that some of the programs you're talking about and this group meeting coming together, that a lot materializes out of it.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be here and just to talk about Chillicothe and the church and getting started here. And and just pray blessings upon you as you serve as Mr. Mayor.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, and you've got a great one in Eva Dana Horton.
Yes.
She was my campaign treasurer the first time that I ran, by the way.
Yeah,
And
she is a wonderful lady.
she is a great lady, and I guess that's why she was presiding commissioner for 20 years.
Yes, sir.
So, well, that's going to do it here for Chatting with Chuck, and we'll be back next Thursday. I know in a couple of weeks we're going to be having another program here of a fundraising event coming up at the one of the churches here, and we'll have another program in between there, and I know that they're working on one, and we'll let you know about it through PSAs and also through my column. So we'll see you next Thursday morning at 8 here on Chatting with Chuck, 105.9 The Wave.
Thanks for stopping by and Chatting with Chuck. Chatting with Chuck is brought to you by Cincinnati Jewelry, Wabash Barbecue, the Woody's Automotive Group, Investors Community Bank, Constitution Tribune, Hutchison & Company with Allied Insurance, and the Boche Stone Cafe. If you've got a story you'd like Chuck to cover in Chatting with Chuck, just call the Wave at 646-2255. And make sure you all come back now for Chatting with Chuck.